Hey everybody, welcome back to Day 3, Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Oceanside. My name is Bob Babbitt, brought to you by HOKA Master Spas, deboer wetsuits, Quintana Roo, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. We're about to send out our 50,000th grant and are about to send out $5 million in challenge athletes all over the planet. Our next guest, the CEO of Ironman, Mr. Scott DeRue. How you doing, Scott?
I am outstanding, Bob, and blessed to be here with you.
Well, 7 summits, 17 years, a team of 60 members getting to the top of your 7th summit. Talk a little bit about what got you in there. Were you always a mountaineer?
No, I grew up in the flatlands of North Carolina.
Okay.
But got enamored by the mountains when I traveled to Africa for the first time. Didn't know what I wanted to do in Africa, so I Googled, what do people do in Africa? And Safari came up and Kilimanjaro came up.
Yep.
And so I went and did both of those. And I fell in love with mountains. I fell in love with the spirit of it,
Yes.
The beauty, the team aspect to it.
Yeah, it is a team aspect. People don't realize that.
And as you said, across all of these different mountains, I've had the privilege of being on teams with over 60 people.
That's amazing.
And these are just incredible people from all around the world. So I feel truly blessed.
And the last climb, which you just did, right?
Yes.
You just finished that last climb. Talk a little bit about that, and just because the thing with when I hear about climbing Everest, great, I'll fly over and I'll climb and I'll come back. No, it's like you got to spend weeks getting used to and waiting for a window for the weather.
The weather windows, yeah.
Yep. There's so much logistics through these.
Yeah,
things.
so I mean these 7 summits. So it's the tallest mountain on each of the 7 continents.
Right.
And so Kilimanjaro was my first one,
Yep.
got enamored by it, started climbing others, just fell in love with the entire adventure spirit of it. Obviously the physical challenge, just like any endurance sport. Everest was the 4th of my 7. Standing on top of the world was incredible.
Unbelievable.
And then I said, well, if I've done Everest and these others, the 7 summits is an amazing achievement.
Right.
And I'd be blessed. There's 400 to 500 people in history that have been able to do it. And so let's go for it.
Right.
And so I started training for the other mountains. And this last one, Carstensz Pyramid, it's in Indonesia on an island called Papua, near Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get to. But it's among the 7 summits, probably the most technical rock climb.
Yes.
Whereas like a Mount Everest, you're on the mountain for 2 months.
Right.
This one we climbed in 7 hours, 4 hours up, 3 hours down, but it took us 2 weeks to get to it.
Really?
Yeah.
Just the hiking to get in.
It's more the logistics. You can't hike in anymore because of it's been closed. This mountain's been closed since 2019.
Okay.
Because of civil war.
Right.
And some civil unrest.
Yeah.
And they just reopened it. Actually, the week of Kona in October last year, my friend called me and said, they just opened it. Let's go.
You're like, I think I'm a little busy.
I'm a little busy. So I said, how about March?
Yeah.
And so we organized an expedition. And so you helicopter in. You get to Papua. You helicopter into the mountain. Requires really good helicopter pilots.
I was going to say.
Because you're going through the mountains.
Well, you got winds. You got all sorts of weather stuff you're dealing with.
You fly over one of the most incredible sights is you fly over one of the largest copper and gold mines in the world. And the mountain is right on the other side of it.
Yeah.
But you get to base camp, and the mountain is right there. And it's just this beautiful slab of limestone and rock. And so we went to sleep, got up around 3 a.m., and started climbing.
So you didn't have to wait a certain amount of time for altitude?
No, this one for us, at least our approach was let's go fast.
Yes.
And if you go fast, you can beat some of that altitude illness and whatnot.
Yes.
So we went pretty fast, climbed that night.
And that was a technical climbing?
It's a little bit relative to the other 7 summits.
Right.
It's more of a technical climb, and you get to different parts of the climb where You've got a tightrope across some cables that play with the mind a little bit.
Oh my God! You're looking down, going, "Don't look down."
Exactly.
Oh my God!
But it was. I feel truly blessed. It was just me and a good friend of mine, and to have the opportunity to climb with him and get to see this part of the world that otherwise you're just never going to get to see, and to have that experience, I truly feel blessed.
Well, and to have a bond like that.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, you guys are putting yourself at risk, and you're climbing together, so you have nobody but each other.
Yeah, you really depend on each other.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I've really always liked about mountaineering and expeditions like this is, like any endurance sport, certainly like Ironman, countless hours of training. You are really testing not only your physical limits, but also your mental.
Yeah.
But in this case, in this sport, you're really depending on each other. Because inevitably on these big mountains, something is going to go
Always, right?
different or wrong.
It's like an Ironman.
Exactly.
There's always some deep,
Exactly.
some dip that you've got to deal with.
And it becomes a game of problem solving at that point.
Yes.
And one of the things I've always really loved about the sport is that team aspect.
Yes.
And really coming together, and to be able to stand on the top and get down safely.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you get to the top, you're like, oh, that's just like you get to Javi, and you're like, you got to still come back.
Exactly.
Right?
Every endurance sport has that dynamic, right?
Exactly. Oh, I made it to Javi. I made it to the energy lab. I'm done. No, you're
No,
not.
you're not. No, you're not.
You're just
A
getting
lead drive.
started. Until you see the banyan tree, you're still dealing with it.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, you got to be so cautious on the way down. You're like, okay, I've done 7 summits, but I still got to do the descent.
My deal with my lovely bride,
Yes.
Kathy, has always been I will come home safely with all of my digits.
Yes.
Getting to the top is optional.
Right.
And so you got to be very careful.
Cold? Was it?
Not too bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
How bad was? I've always heard with Everest how freaking freezing it is up there.
Really depends on the weather day.
Okay.
So when I had the privilege of standing on the top, it was cold. It was sunny,
Right.
but it was windy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would say probably about -40.
Wait. -40.
Probably about negative.
How do you dress for freaking -40?
You essentially dress in a down sleeping bag that looks like a onesie with arms and legs.
Okay.
So you got a huge down suit on that provides a lot of warmth. And basically the warmest boots you can buy, and mitts that are specially made for that purpose. The crazy thing at that temperature, Fahrenheit, Celsius doesn't matter because that's where they converge. And so it's about -40. But I've got a video on top of Everest where GoPro on my helmet.
Yeah.
And you can hear the wind just buzzing by.
Yeah.
But it's the most beautiful, majestic scene where you're at the top of the world looking across the landscape. It's incredible.
So even the 3 weeks of acclimatization, it was still worth it.
Yeah, I mean, Everest, what they don't tell you about Everest, I was on the mountain for about 6 weeks total. And what they don't tell you about Everest is you climb it 3 times.
What?
You just don't go to the top the first
Oh,
2.
that's right. You have to go.
Because you have to acclimatize. So
Right.
unlike Carstensz Pyramid, where we can just go fast and go up and down, on Everest, you really have to acclimatize. So in our expedition, we went halfway up, came back down. Then we went 3/4, came back down.
Any tempting of, you know what, we're up
We're
here.
almost there.
But you have to come all the way back down. Why? It's all acclimatization.
It's all acclimatization.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after that second rotation, you're waiting on the right weather window.
Right.
Because once you get above 26,000 feet, you want to make sure the weather is going to cooperate.
Yeah.
And so you're playing a waiting game at that point. And then once you see the weather window, team gets organized and you start moving up the mountain. But you're so fit by that point, you're moving a lot faster than you were on the first rotation.
For training, do you do rock climbing gyms? What do you do?
Or
is it swim, bike, run?
So, where I've lived over the years. So it's been Michigan, New York,
Right.
Florida now. It's flat. So I spend a lot of time on the Stairmaster that looks like an escalator.
Yes. Yeah.
I put my iPad on it, and I know I'm ready when I am on that escalator. I've got my pack on. I put dumbbells in the pack.
Oh, my God.
I put my boots on.
Yeah.
And once I can do, the back-to-back long days, just like we would training for an Ironman or anything else, once I can do the back-to-back long days where, I'm climbing, 2.5, 3 hours on a Saturday, 3 hours on a Sunday at a certain pace with the right weight, weighing me down, then I know I'm ready.
That is crazy.
So I spend just months.
It's so funny. I remember years ago interviewing this woman, Robin Benincasa, did all those adventure races way back in the day. And she was doing Kona, and there had been an earthquake. So there was a crack on the Queen Highway. We're talking like a 1-inch crack. And everybody at the meeting is like, well, so tell me more about the crack. And she's like, listen, I've been doing races where I've been out there for 6 days, and I don't even know where I'm going.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And they're worried about a freaking
crack in the road.
I know that people can hand me crap every 5 miles, and when I finish, I'm going to have a drink with a straw in it,
right.
with a straw within 10 hours. I know exactly what's going to happen. The unknown about what you do is the thing that would scare me the most. Is you're like, okay, other people have done it in X, but you don't know. Weather can change. Everything can change.
Yeah, the mountain can change. The weather can change. The people around you. And so this is why you want to make sure that you have the right experience in going up. You don't want to make Everest your first your first mountain. But it's really, to me, it's always been about the team.
Right.
And making sure that you've got people around you that are not only skilled,
right,
but have the right mindset and frankly the right values that we're in this together.
Right.
That no matter what happens, we're going to take care of each other.
Right.
That's one thing that I've always valued about the team members that we've been able to put together.
Well, because you sort of have to say, listen, if we get in trouble, we're coming down. I'm not going solo and go do my own thing.
That's right.
This is about us doing this as a team.
Yeah, one of my very close friends and a person that I've climbed with a lot. His name's Garrett Madison.
Okay.
And he's one of the best big mountain guides in the world. He's guides Everest and K2 and all these big mountains. And very early in my adventure of mountaineering, he and I were climbing together with a few other people, and we were on a not that big of a mountain. And we got about 500 feet from the summit. Weather was horrible. The wind was blowing so bad. I'm not a big guy.
No.
I was getting picked up off my feet. I was using my ice axe to stay on the ground. And he looked at me and he said, Scott, I'm pretty confident that I can get us to the top, but I don't know that I can get us back down. And he had summited this mountain probably 250 times.
Oh my God.
And I said, Garrett, we're going down. Like, it's not even a question.
Not a question, right?
Right?
You promised your wife.
Exactly,
I'm coming home.
Exactly. This mountain will always be here. We can come back.
Wow.
But having people like that with the experience, the
So did you guys turn around?
Of course.
Wow.
Of course.
Did you? But obviously you went back another time.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
You were a knucklehead, by the way. Yes, but that's something you have to make that decision, right? You have to trust that guy implicitly that they know best. 250 times he's been up here.
He's the expert. He's got the judgment.
Right.
I remember we were at high camp on Everest, and Garrett was my lead guide then too, and the weather report was that there was going to be quite a bit of wind.
Right.
And maybe too much. But with Garrett and Lac Parida and some others that had a lot of experience on the mountain, their judgment was, no, it's going to work out. Like, we've seen these conditions. We feel confident.
That's all you need
and
to
so
hear.
we went.
Yes.
And they were right. Could they have been wrong? Possibly.
But based on a lot of expertise.
But that experience matters. And I'd never been there, so I'm going to trust their judgment. Just like if you're training for an Ironman and you've got a coach and with a great deal of experience and it's your first time, they've got the judgment, they've got the wisdom, right? And so having the humility to follow, that matters. So
transferring all of what you've learned from climbing the 7 summits, you come over to this silly sport of triathlon like a year ago.
That's an incredible sport.
I think last March was the first time we met.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about how that transfers over, because it's people are setting a goal.
Yep.
Their family is their support crew and partners, and then they're reaching that goal and then looking for the next one, which is exactly what you do.
That's exactly right.
So how has it transferred for you?
Yeah, I mean, the parallels are really uncanny.
Yes.
And if you from an endurance sport perspective, being able to set that goal. It's it can be very aspirational for folks, and you never take that for granted. And the physical challenge of it, but even more so the mental challenge, the commitment to train.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Right. And so there's many parallels. As well as, when you're, I did my first 70.3. I haven't done a full distance Ironman yet. I got one on the horizon that we're starting to look at. But even in the race, you talk about the problem solving, right? Your nutrition,
yes,
right, or
equipment,
the weather, the equipment, or whatever it is. The parallels to mountaineering very much the same. Right, it's this exercise of problem solving and taking care of yourself through nutrition, through hydration, all the same. The two differences that I would say is there's certainly a risk element. Not to say there's no risk in triathlon. There certainly is, but you're not tightroping across a cable.
I was going to say you're not falling from 27,000 feet.
And so there's a risk element there, but I think in triathlon. The attention to detail that and the focus that is what enables you to deal with that risk in mountaineering is the same focus and attention to detail that enables you to be successful in a triathlon. And then obviously there's the team versus individual component of it. But every triathlete that I've spoken with in the last year, where, me, I'm super curious, I'm asking questions about their journey and whatnot. Every triathlete that I've spoken with, professional, age grouper, talks about the people in their life who supports them. Could be a coach, could be family, could be friends, could be their tri club members, whatever it is. It is a social experience and a community that really that comes together.
Right.
That is it. So even if you're out here, we're in Oceanside for this weekend, you're racing this race. You're racing your race by yourself.
Yes, you are.
But you're racing it with thousands of other people on that course who are supporting each other. When I did my 70.3 in Wilmington, North Carolina, that was probably the biggest surprise for me, is during the race, how all of the other athletes, they were talking to me, they were supporting me, we were supporting each other.
Welcome, thanks for being here.
Exactly. It was so cool. And so there's a team individual aspect of it, but the community feel of it, the community spirit of it,
that's what makes it special.
is the same, and it makes it super special.
Well, and the reality is everybody who comes to these races knows they're racing the course and racing themselves.
That's exactly right.
And you've got you got thousands of other people who are doing the same exact thing. So there's a bond that's so special. And the sport that you were doing was, yes, there's a team aspect, but it's pretty solo. It's you and your buddy trying to get to the top. You're not surrounded by 3,000 other people.
No, you were not.
The same thing.
Hopefully you're not. If there are that many people on the mountain, I'm not going to be one of them.
Exactly. But when you went to do your first race, and then you see all these people who are there for a variety of reasons, but you think about the getting up at 4 a.m, getting to the start, and all the things that go into just starting the race.
That's right.
You have to be committed.
That's right.
And that's, I think, what drives everybody together. Everybody is doing the 4 a.m. and riding on Zwift and doing all the different things. But at the end of the day, they're going to the races because it really is what makes you feel alive.
Alive. That's exactly right. And that is that feeling of alive is the energy and the spirit that all of the people together bring, right?
Exactly.
And so for me, Ironman 70.3, that's been one of the big lessons for the past year, is how the community is the brand.
It is.
How the community is the spirit, the culture, and what makes this sport so special.
So this was your first experience in Kona, watching that.
Yeah.
Being at that finish line and just watching how cathartic it is for people who are doctors and lawyers and have been so successful, millionaires, and they come across that line and the emotion, the raw emotion that you see. Did that surprise you?
Yes and no. So no, because I've had people tell me that story.
Yeah.
But you don't understand
Gotta see it. Gotta feel
until
it.
you're there.
Yeah.
And I get cold chills as you were talking about it. Because whether that is your first time to Kona or your 20th time to Kona, doesn't matter, right? It is that moment that is special. and to stand there at the finish line and watch all those people have that moment and to share that with them is, and for my first time, it's one of the most memorable and meaningful moments of my life, truly.
The other thing that makes our sport special is every pro started as an age grouper. Yeah. So there is a bond there, right? Because you're talking. I remember talking to Sky Monch. We're in Salt Lake. We're in at St. George, and we're in Zion's Bank doing the interview. And she goes, I worked at Zion's Bank. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, I was a teller because my parents told me before I went to college, you'll have to afford to pay for college, and because we can't afford it. So she worked. She cleaned houses, right? And she worked as a teller and graduated with her CPA and became an accountant. And then found out, I'm good at the swim, bike, run thing. But it was like, yeah, I was a teller. So people can relate to that. Wait, she was a teller?
It's an incredible story. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and next thing you know, she's one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this is you see the transformation of people. So you guys now have the Ironman Pro Series, which I love. Putting our athletes in a position to make a really significant living is very special. And I think that also goes a long way for bonding those pros with the age groupers, because don't you see that? And the first year of the Pro Series, I think was a huge success. Your feeling?
It was an incredible success. But to speak to that bond between the pros and the age groupers, did you see Chloe in South Africa?
I heard about that. Yes.
So Chloe has a flat tire.
Oh yeah.
And
people throwing her
and Paul, an age grouper, rides by and stops to help, and that's a special moment right there.
Absolutely,
right. And unfortunately, Chloe has that moment, and she loses some time, but it happens to everybody, right?
Everybody, yeah.
But to have that moment between Chloe and Paul happen. And then did you see when Paul, who I think probably finished in maybe 14 hours.
She was there.
She was the person there that medaled him, right? And so to me, that was a testament to the spirit of triathlon and the spirit of Ironman.
Yeah.
I don't know of another sport that has that same spirit in that way. Yeah. It was just, I watched that. I didn't have the privilege of being there on site this year, but I watched that on our broadcast. And it moved me. It was incredible.
Yeah, we had that one other, Chrissy Wellington, this was probably her second or third win in a row, and she flatted.
Yeah.
And Rebecca Keat tossed her a cartridge, right? And then Chrissy went off and won her
Ironman World Championship.
Another pro gave her the tools to beat her. That's what this sport is all about.
That's incredible.
What I love about this sport, when you talk about Olympic distance, Olympic format, and the drafting that goes along with that, it's the best person doesn't necessarily win. It's the best tactician.
Yeah, sure.
Tactics are great. They're out the window when you're doing a full or a 70.3. It's about you and the course, which means these guys can bond. The pros can associate with the other and be friends with each other because they know that steel sharpens steel. They need each other to train together.
And they'll make each other better.
And they all make each other better.
But I mean, to your point, I mean, the Ironman Pro Series, which we launched last year, huge success last year.
Gigantic.
And we're really proud. But it most importantly, it's a platform that enables our professional athletes to elevate their performance, their reach, their brands. But it also becomes a platform to drive engagement not only for the pro athletes, but for the entire triathlon community.
No question.
Right? The age groupers, the other brands and partners that want to be a part of triathlon. The Ironman Pro Series becomes a platform to drive the love for the brand.
Right.
Right? To drive engagement with the community. Right? And to create incredibly exciting races that inspire people to want to be part of this special sport.
Exactly.
And for me, and you and I have talked about this a lot, what I care deeply about is the growth of triathlon as a sport.
Yes.
And the Ironman Pro Series, to me, big picture, is a platform that enables us to do things that ultimately help grow the sport. and it's great for the professional athletes in their prime and putting on these incredible performances. It's great for our age groupers to race right alongside of them in these incredibly exciting races. It's great for the ecosystem of partners and brands that have become, part of this journey that we're on. And ultimately, we're all now working together to grow the sport. And this has been a vehicle for doing that. And I'm really excited about the upcoming season.
What's great is if you are an age group athlete or you're an age group golfer, you can't go play Augusta. No. You can't play with that, right? You can't go to Wimbledon and say, hey, let's Rafi, let's hit some back.
Yeah, right.
But you're treading water in the same body of water.
Same course, same conditions.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is nothing better than our sport. And as you're seeing, and we saw in New Zealand, you saw, I think it was 85 to 89. And we had a full podium for the guys. You got the women at 80 to 84. It is the fountain of youth. Our sport changes lives for the better forever.
It does.
It does.
It does.
Scott, thank you for taking so much time. Always such a pleasure. Congratulations on 7 summits.
Thank you.
How many people have done that?
There's not a great count. It's somewhere between 400 and 500.
That's a small community. Good job, bud. Scott DeRue has been our guest. Again, Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Oceanside. Hold on. We will be right back.